It was during my first fall quarter at Spokane Falls Community College. I was sitting in nature and landscape class, listening to the class chat amongst themselves. We were a tiny class, so it was not hard to hear every conversation. Till, of course, our teacher Richard Heinzen came in and got everyone. Today was the day we figure out our weekly Friday photo trip. I always enjoy our trips, but today was different. Today he offered us a surprise place to photograph and stay for a night. The Montana Bison Range. I have never been out of Spokane, so could not wait, but first I would have to find a ride. Oh, joy. Thankfully, I got a ride to Montana by Michael Burke, a father of the photography building and a dear friend of everyone who knows him. He picked me up at around 7 in the morning, and then we went to find the house of our teacher's assistant. We drove around for hours before we realized we were lost. I thought it was just bad directions, but Mike did not want to give up, so we decided to call him instead of going further. We found the house an hour later. To our dismay, it was actually easier to find than we made it out to be. So I was right. The directions we were given were bad. From there, we were off to Montana. The trip was long and tiring, but we made it fun. We ended up stopping on the freeway for the assistant to take photos of fog on water. Very dangerous, but exciting nonetheless. We listened to the radio and watched the scenery go by for hours. We also stopped at a gas station on the way for snacks. Though I also got a lecture about writing where we stopped and everything we bought in a notebook for future references and expenses. Ironically, though, we left late. We were still the first ones to the Bison Range. We decided on taking photos of the mountain range nearby while we waited for Jennifer, Carol, and Richard to show up so we could move on into the range. When we got there, we goofed off a bit before setting off. The range was vast and we were told to stay in or around our cars at all time until we got to the campsite. But since we are all photographers, we wandered a little bit further than we were supposed to. But shh, no one will really know how far. We stopped and went many times, and my head was in the clouds most of the time. We saw many deer, but only one bison, which is funny since it was called the Bison Range. We went all the way up and stayed there till sunset with our tripods ready to take shots of the sun as it disappeared behind the silhouettes of the mountains in the distance. Then we made our way down to the campsite. The campsite was larger than I expected, but then again I have only been camping once and that was in elementary school. Before lighting the fire and settling in, everyone besides Richard and his assistants wandered off again on foot to take more photographs. We went so far that walking back with our cameras and tripods was a big hassle, but we saw photographs to be made. There were horses, eagles, hawks, and of course, more deer, and amazing landscape views. When we were done, we settled down by the fire and ate our dinners and snacks that we all brought. It was so relaxing watching the crackling fire while listening to the fellow photographers and friends talking to each other in a circle around the campfire, while taking amazing shots of the fire as it rose to the dark sky. After eating, we all decided to use the bathroom all at once so no one got lost. The stars were so amazing out in the range. Nothing like Spokane's few stars. The stars are burned into my memory even without a photo of it. That walk was so worth it, but then came sleeping. I slept in a tent with Mike since my family didn't own a tent. Rich and his assistant had their own tents, and Jennifer and Carol slept in their cars. It was freezing, and I felt like a popsicle when I woke up in the morning, as did everyone else. Then again, it was right before sunrise came over the horizon when we woke up, so we could get shots of the sunrise. We made the fire to eat breakfast, and putting it out was not fun, because of the cold. Thankfully, the river was nearby, so we could make hot chocolate and coffee before putting it out, though I almost fell into the river trying to get an amazing shot of the rising sun in the water's surface. Something to never try again. We packed up and headed off to finish going around the range. The longest stop we had that day was for a fence. Informational lectures, even on a photo trip. Never get bored of those. We ended at the big pond at the end of the range. It was covered in moss, but that didn't stop the turtles from lounging on a log in the middle. They were so photogenic. We even got many photos of a snake, thanks to Jennifer picking it up out of the bushes. I bet that snake was angry. But we got good shots of it. Thanks for being a great model and sport, Snake. We all left after that, and the trip back was just as enjoyable as the ride there. We got back around 10 p.m., which marked the end of the memorable trip. I will never forget that one-day trip on that cold autumn day during that fall quarter of school.